Because you realize there's not much else, you know. And your parents are what? And and then you're like done, you know. So I think it was interesting that there's a real excitement to sort of, I think people are trying to find their group, and I think that's why it's such an epiphany. People that have gone to Hawaii and not just done tourist thing, but have lived there and so forth, or gone to school, and they're like, oh my God. You know, I remember hearing one woman, she's like, I'm invisible for the first time in my life. She's like, I'm not being stared at everywhere I go. I'm like, yeah, it's very great. She's like, no, I don't like it. And I also remember a woman from Kansas who wrote me a letter and said, you have to come meet me. You've never met anyone like me. I'm Black and Korean. And I was like I was so touched that her world was that small, that she had not even encompassed the fact that there are, you know, probably, you know, who knows how many other people of that mixture out there. And I wrote her back saying, like, I would love to, I can't afford to fly out there just for the thing, but just, you know, there's this group here and here, and I've probably photographed 50 other people that are Black Korean mixed, and she never wrote back. I think some people, it's like it just blows their heads off when they, like,
you know who's Black and Korean is Amari, the singer? Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I love her. Anyway, but I think maybe what's more important than the word Hapa is the idea of Hapa, because I mean, Japan it's Hafu, in Korea it's Honnyeol, in Thailand it's Lukkrung. My pronunciation is probably wrong, but I mean, it's more the idea of the experience of community rather than the word. I for one was glad to learn of it, and that there was others out there that might have a similar experience.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna fully acknowledge that I'm asking this question, but like I don't really expect an answer to, but.
Okay, Ken.
Bring it on.
So some of what I work in higher ed, and so I work with all the students and have been doing some projects in the last couple of years and really looking at mixed race Asian identities for like, it comes out of my own experiences and like, you know, researching and trying to do national surveys around mixed race or multi-ethnic Asian or APIs working in higher ed. We're like, awesome, 19 people, but that's 19. But part of what I think about is just even the more I talk about it or think about it, like I guess where I get stuck is even in trying to think about my own experience, my own like constant reconstruction of identity, of self, that there's this like desire to make there be a multiracial experience, and I think that, right, that there's such a complexity to it, so I guess it's more of a bigger question, is like how do we continue to allow that to be a complicated question and a complicated answer and leave space for that while still finding community. Yeah, that doesn't really have an answer. I think that's where I usually get stuck, is like I don't want there to be then this idea that there's a homogenous experience with being mixed race, or a way to identify it.
Are you familiar with critical mixed race studies as a field? I was going to say, have you participated in the conference? Yeah. And they're going to start a journal around it as well. So I mean, perhaps there's not an answer, but it's definitely a field of study and a field of inquiry. So I mean, and just within that conference and within that journal, that community of academics, there's a lot of answers, or at least ways to ask more questions. Yeah. Also, you happen to be sitting next to Jen Chow from Swirl, who's an excellent resource for these things. So you should talk.
Yes. My name is Mike. The question I wanted to ask was, I guess for your experience, the term Hapa, has it evolved, since you began this project? Because for me, I'm originally from California. My mother's Japanese, my father's Nicaraguan, and the term Hapa, growing up in the Bay Area, for me just meant someone who was half Asian, half white, and not, something that included me or people of other, say, partial, say, Asian or Pacific Islander ancestry. So the question I wanted to ask is the term Hapa evolving? Is it becoming more inclusive of other people of, say, partial API backgrounds?
Depends who you're talking to.
Okay.
I mean, I heard the same thing when I was a kid. Oh, it's only for people that are. I had people argue it's only for Japanese and white mixes, or it's only people like it's only for people that are Kanaka Maoli, like purely Hawaiian. It's like, and then it's like that's why I put people that didn't fit my definition in the book to show that it's an evolving thing. There's no definition for it. It's like, what's Jewish mean? I'm staying with Hugh Cosman. He's like, Hugh Cosman is like Jewish, right? Well, no, my mom doesn't identify, so I don't identify. I'm like, I didn't get bar mitzvahs, so that's it. So you're not Jewish then? It's like. So I just think that it depends who you're talking to.
Kip, I think you said earlier that the idea that language evolves continuously, the ideas around language. And I mean, the Hapa term already has evolved, right? Like originally, like Hapa Haole is the original, and that means half white. There's actually a whole slew of terms that start Hapa and end with something else. Hapa Haole, Hapa Kanaka, which just
means half.
It just means half Hawaiian, right? And now,
it's half period. I mean,
half
portion,
right? And now I think that, I mean, the common use is still about half Asian, but I've heard it used for any type of multi-ethnic.
Yeah. I mean, because people in Hawaii, they identify as local first, you know. So, yeah.
I read an article the other day about high school seniors when applying to college.
Oh yeah, the Yahoo one.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to come up.
For high school seniors who are half Asian, having to choose between putting Asian, which will hold you up to higher standards for the colleges, getting in, compared to putting white or whatever your other half is. And some people think that it's portraying your cultural identity if you're selling out. Or do you agree with that, or do you think you have to do what's in your own self-interest?
Look out for numero uno or not. I mean, I have a big trouble because I'm in higher ed. I have a lot of difficulty with the whole idea of how we tend to measure and calculate race. And in the UC where I teach, you know, we had Prop 209 and we got rid of race and ethnicity as any kind of qualifying candidacy. We're not allowed to look at it. So it's really an unusual situation because at the same point you want to understand who your demographic is. You want to understand who's coming into the school and how they identify. But it's like, I always feel like we should just let them just write instead of having boxes to check and so forth. It's the only way that makes any sense. It takes more human power to go through. Yes, it takes a lot more effort, but it's the only way that, like, otherwise it's always going to be our decision of what things to put down. I had that same thing. I remember that, you guys know this article he's talking about? It was in Yahoo News, and it was saying that if you're Asian or white, you should check white, because if you check Asian, you're less likely to get into school.
And I kind of had this identity crisis when I was like 13 years old, and that's scary. So then I thought, okay, I want to figure this out. So I was inspired by both of you, and I kind of made my own film, kind of exploring what does it mean to be Chinese, what does it mean to be Jewish. So I went to dim sum with my hands. I went to a rabbi. I had a Shabbat dinner with my friends, and I got so excited about it. I was like, I have to tell everyone I'm Chinese and Jewish because there's no one else like me. But then I go to Loving Day and I meet all these people who are like me. And then I go on Facebook. I was like, oh, this person looks like they can be half Chinese and half Jewish too. And so I kind of like start stalking them or see I in the street with a half Asian baby. And I was like, oh my God, that's like me. And so for my college essay, I'm kind of like really using this half Asian idea to my advantages, I guess you can say, because I had such a great time making my film. I really loved it. I really became to be so proud of who I am. Like, before, people would ask me who I was, and I would look down and say, oh, I'm Chinese and Jewish, not really knowing what it meant to be Chinese, what it meant to be Jewish. But now I'm so excited about both my cultures, so I want to tell everyone I am a proud Chinese Jew. And so I wrote my essay about that kind of...
You need a shirt that says that.
I wrote my essay about that, and I'm so happy about it. And so now with the applying to college, you can choose other or Asian and white, and I feel happy doing that. Before, I hated choosing other because I was like, I need to define myself. But no, it's like, it's just the beginning.
Most have gotten rid of the check one box, and sometimes they have the other please explain, and I always encourage you to write no. Although I did meet a couple in New York. I did a shoot last year, and they said they got married in West Virginia, and they said they had to fill out a form with the Justice of the Peace, and the guy was African American, and he's like, I had 4 categories I could have picked from: Negro, Black, Colored, I forgot the other one, and mulatto. Wow. And I'm like, what? He's like, I took like 15 of them just as a souvenir. I'm like, you gotta send me one, and you never did.
There's a great website called racebox.org, and it shows, maybe you've seen it, it shows all the census forms from the US ever. Like the oldest ones are these like quill-written, handwritten things, and the choices are like free white male, free white female, and slave. Wow. And then it sort of goes through the boxes up till 2000, 2010. And technically speaking, all federal forms should have the sort of census-style multi-box thing. I don't know what the SAT is, not federal.
There's multiple boxes you can choose.
Oh, is it now?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes.
I don't think you should give up on books, because I think your son?
My son, yeah.
He's going to need.
He doesn't like books.
And there are very few that are, I think, really capturing what you're just talking about. For children, I have grandchildren who are Korean and whatever the other generation. And I think hear a few, but not very many. So
Yeah, I agree.
we have this sabbatical time.
I would like not to give up on books. It feels like books have given. I feel like publishers have given up on books in
I
some
think
ways.
children, it was an article in the New York Times this week, they're still not giving up on picture books for children.
Well, that's good.
And they're still selling, but they're, I know, but I think children need.
My
they
son
need
downloads
real-
iPhone apps.
Yeah.
He's 2 and a half.
So if he's not doing the, what are the images you're exposing?
Porn. I'm sorry, it's too easy. He has the usual. He has Curious George, he has Dr. Seuss, but we've got a lot of my author friends have sent me their books, which is cool because you can't find these things.
Yes.
You know, like the coconut that doesn't fit in with the rest of the fruit things. The pineapple, that does in Hawaii. It's like there's a lot of great books that aren't on the mainstream that are self-published that are fantastic.
Well, let's see what happens to the sales numbers, right? I mean, maybe books are a tough format, but multiracial kids, at least according to the latest U.S. Census, are the fastest growing U.S. group, right? Up 50% since the last census between 2000 and 2010. So hate to see it go out of the book game just to see the audience like blow up right afterwards.
I just can't afford to make them because I lose so much money doing them. People like, you make so much. No.
People, put your money where your mouth is.
You don't have to do all your shoots, you'll just make a story because you're not going to be shooting. And you'll be able to just.
I will take that under advisement.
Okay. We've got time, I think, for one more question. Who wants to have the final word? Final question. Oh, did we time it super perfectly? Did we get everybody?
Do it.
Last one.
Someone, I guess, at like.
Are you so buff? You lift weights? Look at this guy.
Like,
Monster.
Exactly what you're talking about, because like I'm half Asian, freshman in college, and I actually back in high school I started a half Asian group that just didn't go anywhere. And I just really want to like kind of get involved because it's always kind of been big in my life because I look more Asian than most half Asians I meet, and I just grew up like completely in a white neighborhood, completely white. So it's always been like an issue where no matter where I am, they always think like I'm the other thing. So like how can I really get involved?
Where are you?
I'm here in New York.
I'll start with this guy first.
Volunteer for Loving Day. Welcome.
I mean, you just look at his.
Welcome aboard.
I mean, I have a list on my website on Red Sushi that's just a list of a zillion organizations from Loving Day to Swirl to. I mean, there's just so many of these out there, and they're all really doing really important work.
All right.
Talk to us afterwards. So I believe that is it for time. So why don't we say thank you very much to Kip Fulbeck. I'd also like to say thank you to Museum of Chinese in America and Beatrice, if she's around. Thank you for helping us out, and everyone else. Also to Brooklyn Historical Society, Sadie and Kiara and Margaret and everybody there. So thank you guys for helping put this together. Thank you so much.